we're going to talk about today is the different models that are available to us as LLMs. Now, I'm going to use that term LLM. So please tell me, what does that mean? LLM. What is LLM? Anybody maybe put that in the comments so we can see that? What is LLM? If you don't know, that's okay too. That's all right. There you go, Alice. Thank you. Large language model, exactly. So we use that quite a bit now, of course, because there are many large language models. Now, what does that mean exactly? Well, if we got to break it down, first of all, it's large, right? It's been trained on a lot of data. And as a result, it has a lot at its disposal to use, and it's been trained on all of that data. And so as you use that model, then you are effectively associating with it in the way that it was trained to be. And so for all of the LLMs that are out there, they're all trained in different ways. What do they all have to focus on in different ways? And of course, those who are building it are the ones who decide really what's the focus that it will have. And so everyone has those different ideas, right? And exactly what they're going to focus on. So as they do, what the end result is the LLM that is theirs. And so we have many, many, many LLMs today. And the opposite to that, or I would say the piece beside that, would be the small language models, which are using less data at its core to as a basis or as a foundation to generate whatever it is that you're asking it to do. So as we talk about large language models today, we talk about the ones that are most popular, that are at our disposal right now, and what they can do. So who can name for me some LLMs? Just throw it in the chat or go ahead and speak out loud. Can you name some LLMs for me?
Anthropic's Claude.
What's that, John?
Anthropic's Claude?
You got it. Yeah. Anthropics is the company. Claude is the name. Absolutely. Any others out there? Maybe you've heard of, I don't know, maybe you've heard of ChatGPT. Maybe. Yeah, there you go. OpenAI, Andrea, you got it. OpenAI is again the company, kind of like Anthropic, and ChatGPT is the model itself that they produce. Other models that you may have heard of, Grok, that's Elon Musk's core, or Meta as well, which is the Facebook backdrop. And then, oh, beautiful, Andrea, Gemini, exactly, which is Google's. You got it. So we're going to talk about some of these because really the question is, well, why would I use one versus another? Now, anybody want to tell me what you are connected to likely through your organization in particular? So a lot of organizations today are using one particular, call it a model that they're very familiar with, very comfortable, or starting to use more and more and more. Do you have that in mind as to what that is, John?
So, for example, like they're using Copilot. Can you explain how Copilot is that an LLM, or does it use LLMs, or how does that work?
Yeah, great. Okay, so actually, when we get into, hey, look at that, what a perfect. We have both Claude and GPT, exactly. And that's really on the Copilot, isn't it? So Copilot is a tool that is now connected into the Microsoft environment, and it stays within the Microsoft environment, which makes it so attractive to the organizations because everything sits within its own realm and it's not communicating and sharing information outside of that realm that you work in. Super important, because that way you're not sharing information, sharing what shouldn't be shared, or accessing what's not shouldn't be accessed. So even within this realm, though, within Copilot, you have access to one or the other. And again, we're going to talk a little bit about, okay, well, which one am I even supposed to use, and why would I go here versus why would I go there? And we'll expand that a little bit further. But I also want to ask you, have you used LLMs outside of your work environment? Just give me a hands up. Yay, whatever you like. Have you used LLMs? Andrea has. Okay. Hoda has. Perfect. John, love it. Yeah, absolutely. So what are some of those LLMs that you're more using at home? And maybe if anybody wants to say why, I think that's a great starting point too, as to why you might use one tool over the other at home.
No one is planning vacations using chat.
My girlfriend
You're
is.
planning vacation, Rahul? Yeah.
No, I'm just commenting. I think summer is coming, so a lot of people must be planning vacations using ChatGPT, isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And now you're actually getting to the point through ChatGPT where you can even get it to book your vacation for you as an agent, right?
Yep.
Which is really cool. Hoda is using Perplexity. Great. We're going to talk about that too. What is Perplexity? And okay, good. So what we're used to using different LLMs, right? And maybe the ones that we're most comfortable with, maybe the first one we were ever introduced to. I know for me it was ChatGPT. When I knew nothing about AI, LLMs in general, I went straight to ChatGPT because that was the one that was very, very popular and by far, the one that was most used. Was this Hodis has found out Gemini reads my Gmail? Yep, absolutely. Yeah, it does. Privacy concerns, I don't blame you there, Hoda. So that's absolutely critical as we talk about a little bit more about the privacy piece and the connections that it can actually achieve and what it does. So we're going to get into all of those pieces. But like I said, as I started, it was ChatGPT, and that's because it was just so widely available and everybody was using it. And I was learning a lot about AI. But then as I got into that world, I started to learn more about what LLMs appeal to what and why. And so we're going to talk a little bit about that, different some kind of scenarios where we would use different LLMs. I want to start off though by talking a little bit about how an LLM is very well trained, like I said from the very beginning. And you may consider it to be like this awesome new person in the team. Okay, like they were just hired, they have phenomenal knowledge, new university grad, and these guys blew it away as far as their scores were concerned. They know everything, way more than we know, and we've been in the job for 20 years. Okay, but they know a lot. Now, what they don't know is the intricacies of the department. What they don't know is, who can I trust? Who can I ask for this? Who will help me? What they don't know is scenarios that perhaps haven't even been seen before or very, very rare. And so the practical application of knowledge is not something that an LLM has. So even though it can give you a lot of information and it can sound like it really knows what it's doing, it can sometimes be wrong. And then that wrong can also can lead you to the wrong path, and that can be obviously troublesome, right? So we're thinking about someone here who is brand new in the team. They have a lot of knowledge like crazy, but they don't have what you have, and that is experience. And experience counts for everything when you are doing your role. And so we have to have that caveat of that understanding of an LLM as we start to use them in our day-to-day world. However, where LLMs are very, very good, I'm going to talk about 6 different pieces where an LLM actually provides a lot of information. We'll talk a little bit about what LLM is good for what as we go through all of these pieces. You only have access to Claude or GPT in your Copilot environment, and that's fine. At home, you may also have Gemini, you may have Perplexity. We'll talk a little bit about those pieces and how you can even use them at home, like Rahul is doing to book his vacations. We'll talk a little bit about that too. So first of all, drafting and transformation. So I need to draft, whether it's emails, documents, et cetera, et cetera. Anybody want to tell me which they would use for that? Drafting and transformation, taking a text perhaps that has already been provided to us, transforming it into another more readable text. Anybody have their experience doing all of that? Copilot, very, very good. So yeah, actually, this is really a best fit for Claude. Now, for those of you who have used Claude, you will know that it is great at putting anything into plain language, making it very readable, making it very useful as far as perhaps summarizing and very, very natural sounding in what it does. So the risk, of course, though, that it could include facts that weren't actually in its source. And so you've got to be careful with the output. In any LLM, that's the case. Whatever it produces, you need to look at it and say, does this fit what I need it to fit? And that may be very much just your brand, right? Does this sound like me? Does this sound like what I would want to produce? Yes or no? And then of course check the facts. It was actually very recently, and even in one of my LinkedIn posts, actually very recently, was about how New York Times came out with one of the journalists to say, don't use AI, you shouldn't use AI, because they actually misquoted another individual by just basically using AI that said, hey, very confidently they said this, when in reality they didn't say anything like that. So we have to actually validate and check that what it's producing is what we want it to and what is correct. So again, the human in the loop, that's us, absolutely critical in using any of the LLMs. Next, after the drafting and transformation, I'm going to talk a little bit about extraction, structuring. This is where now ChatGPT or Claude can work very, very well. Structuring information, taking information out. So you can give it a lot of data, an entire book, and say, this is what I'm looking for. Who will do best at that for LLMs? Yeah, again, you're talking about ChatGPT, Claude as well. Very, very good to trust that what it's pulling out of that data is what you're looking for. So, and it may just be that you have a very big document, but you don't have all the information that you're specifically looking for. Dump the document in and ask it, based on this, what's this? And it'll give you the information you're looking for. So that's your synthesis, your analysis. Conversational interfaces. Now, this is an interesting one because I love Claude when it comes to conversation because of the way it interacts. And again, the language is very, very good. However, when it comes to the interfaces and the connectivity to the other channels that you may be finding within your organization or however you want to connect it, that's where ChatGPT actually comes in a little bit easier. There is better connectivity with ChatGPT. That doesn't mean tomorrow Claude or Gemini won't be better, but as of right now, ChatGPT is still the easier one to work with when you're talking about making those connections as needed. And that's really for the conversational pieces, your chat bots, the ongoing chats that you have, and even maybe answering the phones, those tools that are very popular now becoming very useful. What if I want to do some reasoning though? I need it to get some information and then tell me kind of what's the next step, or where does this go? What is the trend in all of this? Help me make a decision based on the information that I'm going to feed you. Which tool would I use? Claude. Claude does that. It's very, very good. It can weigh the alternatives very well. It can produce the information that you're looking for, very strategic, and that's just the way that it has been built. Also for coding, systems work, again, you're looking at Claude. And this has been one of its biggest focuses has been building through its LLM. So it's been very, very good at doing all of that, specifically with Claude. ChatGPT also very good, more so on the Microsoft side in general, but Claude overall for developers has been excellent. What I personally like actually is the Claude Code, Claude Project, Claude Cowork, I should say. And so you're actually able to download that right onto your PC. This is probably in a more personal environment than a work environment, where you can start to develop code for yourself as well and build agents. So that's kind of a little bit down the road for everybody, but it's really, really cool what Claude does for all of that. Some of the things I want to mention, though, that you should never use an LLM to do. If you have high stakes factual retrieval, so I need to know and produce, for example, a board deck that speaks to these particular points. You don't go to an LLM to do that. Why? Well, an LLM is really, it's generative AI. So it's taking information and then generating new information. Well, if it takes information, numbers specifically, and then generates a new number, you could actually be looking at the wrong numbers. It could be producing something that, again, sounds very, very accurate, and in reality is out the window. It's not real, right? And so when it comes to when it's high stakes and it's factual retrieval, you wouldn't use an LLM. Same for deterministic calculations. So if you need it to determine something based on more information that's provided, so it calculates out and says here, again, an LLM, generative AI in particular, is not really for that. Also, I would say if there's something irreversible as far as actions are concerned, now we're talking to a lot of companies about building chatbots, for example, or customer service support, okay, where it actually answers the phone and gives information to clients or answers emails, whatever, chats online. And so when it gives instructions, it says, go do this, those are irreversible actions in the sense that now the client or whoever you're speaking to is going to go and do what it says to do. The challenge with that is, what if it's wrong? And you won't know it's wrong until you look at it. And this is where you have a huge risk, because now your client may simply say, thanks for nothing, and walk away, right? Because the reality is you've given them wrong information. You've put your trust in a tool that has now misguided you. And so this is where again, the human in the loop is so absolutely critical. And for all of anybody who's thinking about, oh no, what am I going to do? Maybe AI is going to take over my job. I'm not going to be able to find a next role. Listen, you and your experience, as I have stated before, is what actually counts the most. That's critical. And so the human in the loop, as I said before, is you. And you're the ones now that are becoming, as you use AI, the supervisors of the output that it's creating for you. You're the one who determines, is it or is it not correct? What do I even do with this? And so you can move a lot faster, which is great. And so you can produce great output even faster than ever, but you want to make sure that it's correct. And so those calls that you used to get, or you probably still get, let's face it, on the weekends, and says, I need a report for the board by Monday morning, and here's a bunch of information you need to summarize and have accurately done for me. Well, in the past, well, there was my weekend, right? Like I had to spend the entire time building all of that and focusing on it. And my weekend's gone. Say goodbye to the family. And so I get to Monday morning, and then it's still like, hey, listen, what? I'm sorry for the fact that I don't have Appendix C and D. I wanted to, but I just didn't have time. Now that comes into, you could probably get it done in 15 or 20 minutes because you can process that information using your LLMs and produce something that is very good, and you can go through it now and just correct it. So now it's basically like you have someone that you've hired onto your team, they produce it for you, you check it, and then you can send it out afterwards or use it as a guide for you. And that's really, again, where you come into the need and the importance of it. So if I just quickly go through a few things, I want to show you this. And what I'm going to do is share my screen. I'm going to ask one question, okay? And the question is, I'm going to share this across the LLMs, and so we can see all the output here. So my question is, what are the top 3 risks when a large bank deploys a customer-facing AI chatbot? Now I'm going to go across 4 different LLMs, although I explain a little bit about what the last one might be, why it's not quite an LLM. I'm just going to share my screen here, and sorry, 2 seconds. That's not the right button. Okay. Yeah, it's great. This is my glass, but I'm not really sure. Let's go over to ChatGPT. Everyone can see my screen?
Yep.
Okay, good. All right, so let's just post this in. Now, this is ChatGPT, all right? So very, very simple question. I've actually just done it as a paste. It actually just looks like an image. So when I throw it in there, it'll read it. It knows what to do. I'll show you another example. See there, it says the top 3 risks. So it obviously could read the image itself. Okay, so just take a look at the response, okay? Not very long, 1, 2, 3, point, right? And then it goes on to additional major concerns. All right, that's ChatGPT. Now in a co-pilot scenario, same. You're using ChatGPT, okay? I'm gonna pop over to Claude and see what it says there. Now, let me see if I can actually show you what this will do. When I just do it a little bit differently here, I'm going to speak to it. Why am I speaking to it? Well, about a majority of developers today are just simply speaking to the LLM. They're not even typing to it. That will speed up your work by about 80%. No, sorry, wrong. It's 80 times faster to speak to it than it is to type, just FYI. So here it is saying, good afternoon. Thank you very much. Going to click on the thing here. What are the 3 principal risks when a large bank deploys a customer-facing AI chatbot? Enter, and you can see it thinking. Notice that it's thinking a little bit more deeply, and it's taking a little bit more time. Thank you, Claude. However, which option am I using down here? Opus 4.7. If I just adapt this, you can see I've got different models here that I can use, and they're all for different reasons, and I'll explain that in a minute. But these models are actually very helpful to go through speed and then accuracy. So then the one I'm particularly using, I know John will be happy with this, is the Opus 4.7. It's very recent and very, very good as far as the output is concerned. Let's see what it has to say about this question. 3 principal risks when a large bank deploys a customer-facing AI chatbot. Oh, 3 as well. Also not long, however, far more detailed. Easy to read, easy to copy paste. And you want to make sure, of course, that it is accurate. Now let's pop over to Gemini. We can ask the same question. Again, I want to use the same tool to be able to just talk to it. What are the top 3 risks when a large bank deploys a customer-facing AI chatbot? Gemini actually makes it a little bit easier, just less clicks, less ... And you can see it's longer for sure. It's very wordy. Okay. One of the things now that you'll also see in the Gemini output is it actually has the links, many of the links where it has found the information. And if you want to go deeper, you can see it there too. So a lot more information. Very, very good. If I wanted to go actually back to the Claude piece, usually Claude, this is interesting, but it's not here, but usually Claude will end with a question that goes into clarity just to specify a little bit further. And so sometimes that's there. So back over to Claude. Now, let's go over to Perplexity. Perplexity, there we go. That's on the computer side. I don't want computer. I just want the regular chat. Okay. So again, I have the dictation right here. What are the top 3 risks when a large bank deploys a customer-facing AI chatbot? You see what it did? It didn't even pick it up. All right. That didn't help. Let's try that again. What are the top 3 risks when a large bank deploys a customer-facing AI chatbot? Hey, there we go. Good. So now Perplexity actually is not an LLM. And the reason I say that is because, and that may just be my personal opinion, but it's typically not. It's not actually not made to be an LLM. What it is it's using a multitude of LLMs to figure out what does this person looking for, and where can I find the information best based on what they are looking for in particular. And so it may use a variety of LLMs. Now, if I just look, for example, and I can show you this, again, we have the answers just right here, and we have follow-ups that can go with it. But if I select the model right here, notice I have all of these models. There's ChatGPT, there's Gemini, there's Claude, there's Kimi. Like it depends. Again, it'll use what it's being asked to say, okay, what might be a good LLM to ask this question. If I were to go over to the pro version of Perplexity, I can choose which model to use specifically myself. So there you have it. There are the different LLMs and what they do, and why you might choose one over the other, what it might do for you. Like I said, in the world of business and what we're seeing today, even Microsoft has now moved over to more of the Claude output. You can actually integrate Claude now into Word, Excel, PowerPoint. You can add that on as an add-in. I'm not sure at an enterprise level if you can do that, but I know on a personal level you can. So that again can help with the Claude pieces, but again, it depends on what it is that you're looking for and why. So it's important to know everything that's out there and what you can use, what's actually good for you and your output. You are the master of your own future. So with that, any questions, guys? I know we're at time. Any questions?
There's no question. This is great because even I was wondering why is Jonathan asking us to use Claude when we have Copilot and like there are several versions. So this helps clarify the doubts. Thank you.
Good. Absolutely. Yeah. And what test the output? So you saw me put it in. Like I asked the same question across 4 different models. Fine. You see which one works for you. None of them are wrong. It depends on what your personality is and what your output you want is. So try it out. What I also need to be careful of and add here, folks, is listen, I'm not asking you to use LLMs that you are not authorized to use within your organization. They're the ones who decide that, of course, from security settings, et cetera, et cetera. So please don't venture out of that. Some of these models are some that you can use at home. Others, like for example, you have ChatGPT versus Claude in your Copilot environment. Great, you can decide which one you want to use. But if you're practicing at home and doing whatever you want, just please, obviously, do not share company information outside.
Andrea had a great point, Ben. Oh, sorry, I was saying, Michelle. Andrea had a great point. She said it'd be great if it replied to you. Andrea does reply to you. We can show you how to do that another time. Yeah. In the apps, you can talk to Claude. You can talk to ChatGPT. I do most of my driving most of the morning where I have it teach me things that I don't know. Like I didn't know what an LLM is one day. And I was like, I just asked my ChatGPT when it was in voice mode and said, hey, what is an LLM? And it basically spent time and I had dialogue with it. So in your personal setting, if you're using ChatGPT or Claude or whatever directly, hit the little speaking thing. In real time, you can have dialogue with it. But I don't know whether that's working in Copilot. So sorry, Vishali, you had a question?
Yes, I do have a question. So we have all these tools, and definitely Copilot, we understand there's models that we could use. But outside, and we have these number of AI tools. What is a good investment? We can't obviously pay up all these different tools and subscriptions and everything. And what's a good investment versus how do we know that? How do we explore that? Or would you be able to provide us a little insight to what is the right amount to spend and what is a good tool to spend on?
Vaishali, that's a great question. And what I think between John and Rahul and myself, we'd probably all answer it differently. Or we might all answer it the same way, but pretty much everybody that you ask is going to be thinking about their own personal use of it. I've had great experiences across all the LLMs for different reasons and for different things. So, like Rahul said, ChatGPT, he's looking for the family vacation, right? And maybe that's his go-to for that particular thing. So, and what I just showed you, actually, by the way, I can mention this, is that for chatbot AI, for ChatGPT and for Perplexity, I don't have accounts with them. So I'm using the free version. And what you're going to see too is that it actually gets better and better as time goes on. So the more new models that just came out today will eventually be in the free version of that model as time goes on, and newer versions come out and are applicable to the pros that are paying for their subscription. I personally wouldn't suggest on a personal level to go beyond just a simple pro plan, for example, at $20 to $25 a month is probably all you would need. And that would even maybe be beyond what you would need. I use the pro plan for Claude, and I also have a pro plan for Gemini, two very, very different reasons. On the Claude, I'm actually getting a lot of very good output, and I'm able to develop, which is fantastic, and they continue to add to it, which I love. But again, they're two very, very different reasons. And Gemini goes. I'll say this: something I've really observed, and I'm sure everybody here would agree with me, is that Claude is really focusing in the business environment and the developers environment in a fantastic way, where Gemini is going more on the personal side, the shopping side, the information side, the usual day-to-day functions. And they're also, of course, incorporated with so many other pieces that you may already have at home, like Nest or Alexa, et cetera, et cetera. And so that's where it really gels nicely, is that Gemini. On the other side is Claude, and that's really in the business side and on the development piece. That's just my observations and what I'm seeing, because I'm sure everyone else
and the
is.
Chat GPT, for example, in my phone, I have the Chat GPT free version of it. For personal information that we put in, and sometimes, I mean, obviously it's recommended not to do so, but if you're using names or if you're using something, does it matter if it's a licensed version versus a free version? I mean, I've heard these or read these articles that they say if it's a free version, you're not liable to anything, or the company's not liable to you, versus a licensed version, they might not use your personal information for anything else. Is that a true statement?
As far as the liabilities are concerned, I'll leave that in their hands. But when it comes to the licensing and you paying for it, one of the things I know you're able to do with LLMs is once you pay for it, you can turn off the sharing of information so that it stays within you. So you can actually manually turn that off. And a lot of the free versions, you cannot do that. So it's already using.
That's exactly what I think that's the articles that said in the free license, I think all your information is shared. I don't know how much of that is
I can
being.
investigate that, Vishali, because there are some models in which if you don't have a paid subscription, you have to manually take the effort and go into the settings and turn it off. Like, don't share my data or don't use my data for training purposes. Whereas if you have a paid subscription, for some models, it is turned off by default. So you have to play around with the settings, and you can do that manually if you're on a free version. The other point I would like to make, just building on what Ben was saying, it really depends on the use case. I have a lot of friends and some family members as well who use LLMs. And for majority of them, for the tasks that they do, the free version is more than enough. If
Yeah.
you have a specific use case, like Ben uses Claude to code and I use Claude to code as well, then you might need a paid version. But then again, it also depends on what kind of paid version. So one is the paid version where you can talk to the LLM, like you can use the web interface. The other one is if you're using the APIs, right? So let's say you're building an application and you need to build APIs to talk to the model behind the scenes, not through the chat interface. That's a different type of a paid subscription. And that is needed in certain use cases, right? But for the majority of stuff, the point being it should be more than enough.
Okay.
Yeah.
And also the degree of personalization you want too. If you want to personalize it, then using the $20 a month adds a lot of value. So I started using the $20 a month. I saw a huge value in doing that with ChatGPT. But over time, I found I needed to do more like a briefing of a document or analysis and a lot more deeper thought research. So I actually moved my whole workflow over to Claude, and I started using Claude. And I literally exported all the memory that I had in ChatGPT because it was paid version over to Claude. I turned off the privacy settings so that's not using my information for training data and whatnot, which is a screenshot I put in there. And now I use Claude exclusively. But sometimes when I've got something going on Claude, like Ben just did here, I'll dump it into different LLMs and see the outcome. But I have it paid Gemini as well because it connects to my email, my calendar, my sheets and stuff. So it's just easier for me to go to Gemini and say, hey, what urgent emails do I have, right? Versus, and you can do the same thing. You can connect that to ChatGPT. You can connect that to Claude. I just find that Gemini, I don't know, it's more responsive. It's a little bit smoother with connecting to other Google apps. But unfortunately, the answer is a consulting answer. It depends.
Yeah, exactly.
On your use case. So.
Yeah, and John is the person who would fact check the output of one LLM with the other LLM.
All the time. All the time. Well, for work I do, right? Like I kind of write something, or I'll take something that I've written. I'll be like, I like it. I'm not sure. I'll dump it into another and say, hey, what do you think of this one? And then I'll be like, oh, that's better. Okay. Then I'll kind of create a workflow where I'll kind of bounce these things off of each other. So again, it depends, but it's whatever you feel comfortable with. Like I switched my whole workflow to Claude because I found I'm just so much of the time I'm creating briefs, or I'm like writing a sour MSA, or I'm doing some deep research. And I find that one best suited my use case. But I'd say the average person, probably Gemini and ChatGPT is probably what, like my girlfriend was writing a report cards for kids the other day. Or like starting to write report cards. She dumped in what she thought about this kid who was like just a nasty kid and said, hey, write this in a tone and friendly way that meets the Catholic School Board's reporting card requirements. Now it gave it back to her. And as Ben said, she didn't copy and paste it. She edited it after giving it the raw, like she said, this kid's a pain in the ass. He speaks up, he throws things, he regularly poops his pants. Like she put everything in there, but it kind of niceified it. And then she edited it. And then she put it in, and it saved her more the stress of like an hour of editing. It just gave her a personal assistant, like a copywriter, to help her on demand. So like to his point, you never want to take these things literal, right? You have to add your thing. Now, the advantage of paid versions is you can add some of that, use this tone, use this kind of speak, right? So anyways, but I think we're out of questions. I know we're over time.
Yeah, we're way over time.
Did anybody else have anything else? Because this is great dialogue.
We could go on all day.
100%. But I think if anybody has anything really urgent, if you want to ask now, otherwise, I think just email them in and we'll try and answer the questions either in the next session or in other areas. I think
I have all the questions for Copilot. Andrea will kill me here. But I have a whole lot of questions for the next
send them in, guys. We'd love to help them because that's what this is. This is meant to be a 30-minute.
Yeah, that's what this is for, right? Exactly. Yeah. Please.
There's no wrong answer and there's no stupid questions.
I mean, it's the product Copilot that's used for contact center more in. It's fun understanding now that we've gotten into testing a little bit. It's fun playing around with the system. It's fun understanding how it behaves. But what we don't understand is the acceptance criteria. It's like how much of it is okay versus how much of it is not okay. And that's a generic term. I don't think it's very specific to contact center. I also think it's like, how does an AI interpret? What is the best way? Which are the really good models to be used? Things like that. I have these very
Send those in, Vishali. Send those questions in, and we'll table those at one of these. Like last time, I showed everybody quickly in a very choppy way how to customize their Copilot, which is very specific to your client's use case right now. I'll do another one of those sessions next week, but if you want more on Copilot, we'll do another more tailored session towards that. Like every week Rahul's gonna cover some stuff about agentic AI in another session, right? Like we're gonna kind of take turns, but we want this to be valuable for you guys. And we also want to learn from your use cases. Like, what is it you're struggling with? Like, I give you an example. Somebody I sat down with the other day, they were struggling with how to be able to get a certain output. And I said, well, ask Copilot. I want you to achieve this. Tell me how to tell you in the right way to achieve this. And it gave them stuff that they were like, oh, I never thought about it that way. Well, that's because you're not a computer, right? Like we don't naturally think the way these do. So let's ask them to help us, kind of thing. Sorry, but I think we got to wrap it. May, do you have one other question before we go?
I have a very quick question, and I don't want to type it in. So my use cases, I cruise a lot, right? And when I book the ticket, sometimes it's very expensive. But what my agent does is he's willing to match the price. If in the future the price drops, he's willing to match it. But the worst thing is he's not a proactive agent, so I have to search it every time. Is there a way we can automate it so that as soon as AI
Yep.
sees that the price drop, it will alert me? There is a way.
There
Andrew,
is,
oh,
there
course
is a
there
way,
is.
Melissa.
I was
And I
just
would also say
imagining, Andrea.
you're also going to see, actually, Gemini is coming out with an upgrade this summer that speaks to the shopping network that will actually overtake all of your shopping needs, which is fantastic. That's coming out this summer. But
Yeah,
more
they
to
actually
come
just
on
had
that
a
one.
big thing on it, right? Yeah, so let's dedicate something on maybe the agentic side too, Ben, and Rahul, where we can
Absolutely.
show
Oh
them that
man,
example
yeah,
and
no
stuff.
kidding.
Okay,
The other one
because I know
too, John, I would say is just prompting in general, right?
I agree.
Natural language processing and prompting is just, I think, really, really valuable. The how. And just guys, I really want to state here that this was really super generic what I was considering today. Just kind of flying by. And the point through all of this is, yes, the outputs are different. So as you see what they do, that's what's really important. Like that's the main message we want you to understand is the outputs are different across the LLMs. How and what, Vishali, I think it's a really great opportunity then. If you've got a very specific use case, we can take that and then show how to use the LLMs to answer exactly what you're looking for, because different questions can use different LLMs to answer them.
What
I
about
love May's.
automation, development, and things like that? If you have to, supposing there's email and I want to put that into our SharePoint on a daily basis, is like how do we automate and how do we connect that integration between maybe Copilot and our the
You-
SharePoint basically
So
in
if you're trying to
work?
do that in a work capacity, Michelle, you need certain type of Copilot and certain type of
Yeah.
co-work and whatnot.
License, right?
Yeah. So I think that's probably a longer discussion, but all great discussions. I think we've captured them in the recording. But anything else you think of, guys, just send them into the invite that I sent this out to, and we'll organize them, categorize them, and we'll put them in future sessions. And
Understood.
this one being a lot less choppy than the last one, we'll actually like curate and post because Ben did a phenomenal job. And we'll send you guys the links so you guys can see them and find them and share with your friends, because like this is meant to be like, we want to help you guys to learn but and empower you, but we also want to learn from your experience as well. Cool.
Absolutely. Let's keep bringing them in.
100%.
Thank you for these
Thanks,
sessions.
everybody.
Thanks everybody.
Bye.
Great job, Ben. Thanks
Take
for
care.
Bye.
Bye,
Bye,
guys.
guys.
You guys, take care.